You look like you've wandered away from the catering kitchen. Perhaps you should find the service elevator before the actual donors mistake you for the decor." Eleanor Whitmore didn't just speak. She sharpened her words like a blade. She stood at the center of the classic grand ballroom of the Whitmore estate, an environment of suffocating wealth. Gold-fretted walls, velvet-draped windows, and a massive, tiered crystal chandelier that cast a cold, clinical light on the elite crowd. Eleanor stood with her chin high, her hands empty of any common devices, staring with absolute disdain at the woman standing near the fountain. The woman was Nia Vance, a woman with deeply pigmented mahogany skin and a quiet authority that seemed to make the room's frantic social climbing feel irrelevant. She was dressed in a liquid gold satin gown with a high-neck collar, new outfit. "I am here on a personal invitation from the board," Nia said, her voice a low, melodic resonance that cut through the quartet's music. "I believe your father is expecting me to discuss the capitalization of your family's equity. My father expects a savior, not a charity case in a borrowed dress," Eleanor interrupted, her voice rising in a calculated escalation of disdain. "Look at this room. Look at my family. We are the foundation of this city. You are a footnote. You're a social loiterer who probably spent her life savings on that gown just to stand in the same air as us. Security, escort this error to the servants' entrance immediately." The ballroom didn't fall silent. It filled with the sharp, jagged laughter of the surrounding elite. Eleanor's brother, Julian, leaned against a gold-leafed column, smirking at Nia with clinical, high-society disdain. "Honestly, Eleanor," Julian laughed, swirling a glass of $20,000 cognac, "she's very committed to the role. Discussing equity. Maybe she's here to polish the silver? Someone should tell her that the Whitmore fortune is built on bloodlines, not on whatever ambition she thinks she has." The woman beside him joined in, pointing a manicured finger at Nia's gold gown. "I'll give her $500 to go assist the valets with the cars. She looks like she's built for the outdoor work. Go on, Eleanor. Clear the floor before the scent of common ruins the caviar." 12 people in the background were ostensibly minding their business, adjusting their tuxedo lapels or sipping vintage wine, but 8 others were acting as active witnesses, leaning in to catch every second of the humiliation with judgmental grins. "Thanks for the support. We couldn't do this without you. Subscribe for free to help us keep bringing you more stories. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments." Now, back to the story. Eleanor, emboldened by the social jury, took the escalation to its peak. In a moment of raw, unposed physical aggression, she didn't just gesture. She snatched the gold-rimmed champagne flute from Nia's hand and poured the liquid down the front of Nia's gold gown, the cold alcohol soaking the silk as she laughed in her face. "I said get out," Eleanor hissed, her face twisted in a mask of vicious mockery. "Someone call the police. We have an intruder trying to steal the atmosphere." The laughter in the ballroom was a physical weight. Nia didn't cry. She didn't scream. She slowly stood her ground, the gold silk of her gown clinging to her skin, her eyes meeting Eleanor's with a coldness that caused the ballroom's warmth to vanish. "You've spent your life thinking a surname on a building makes you the owner of the world," Nia whispered, the coldness in her tone causing the witnesses' laughter to die instantly. "But you forgot that a building is just brick and mortar, and I am the one who holds the mortgage. You didn't just humiliate a guest, Eleanor. You just assaulted the CEO of Vance Holdings, the firm that currently holds 90% of your family's debt. And as of this second, I've decided to call in the markers and liquidate your entire life." The ballroom, once a theater of mockery, became a tomb of silence. The liquid gold of Nia's gown shimmered under the massive, tiered crystal chandelier, but the warmth of the fabric was gone, replaced by the lethal coldness in her eyes. Eleanor Whitmore stood with the empty champagne flute, her hand beginning to shake as the social jury of 8 witnesses felt the sudden, violent shift in the room's gravity. "Vance Holdings," Eleanor's voice cracked, the high society sneer dissolving into a frantic, stuttering whisper. That's a faceless conglomerate. You can't be Nia Vance. She's supposed to be in Zurich." I was in Zurich, Nia said, her melodic resonance filling the room like a tolling bell, until I heard your father was begging for a bridge loan to save this estate from the bankruptcy courts. I flew in to see if the Whitmore legacy was worth saving. I have my answer. The grand mahogany doors at the far end of the ballroom burst open. Eleanor's father, Arthur Whitmore, ran into the room, his tuxedo disheveled and his face the color of ash. He wasn't looking for his daughter. He was looking for a miracle. When he saw Nia standing there, drenched in champagne, his knees literally buckled. "Nia, Ms. Vance," Arthur cried out, his voice a pathetic wail that echoed off the gold-fretted walls. "I am so sorry. I was in the library finalizing the signatures. Please, tell me my daughter hasn't." "Your daughter just informed me that I am a service elevator error, Arthur," Nia said, looking at the man with absolute disdain. "She and your son felt it was appropriate to drench me in your cheap champagne while the architects of the city laughed. They seem to think the Whitmore name is built on bloodlines. I'm here to show them it's actually built on my credit line." Nia reached into the small, gold clutch at her waist and pulled out a single, black obsidian card. "Theodore," she said, addressing her assistant who had appeared silently at her side, "execute the default trigger. I want the Whitmore debt called in full, effective 60 seconds ago. Seize the estate, the art collection, and the offshore holdings. If there's a single silver spoon left in this house by midnight, I'll have the legal team's heads."
"No," Eleanor screamed, dropping the flute. It shattered on the marble, the sound of her family's future breaking in half. "You can't do that. This is our home. This is our history. It's my collateral now," Nia countered, her quiet authority silencing the room. "And as for your history, I'm having the Whitmore name chiseled off every building I own. By tomorrow you won't be a footnote, you'll be a ghost." The 8 witnesses who had been howling with laughter moments ago were now scrambling for the exits, terrified that Nia's gaze would fall on them next. The man in the pinstripe suit who had mocked her ambition nearly tripped over his own feet, his face a mask of raw, irreversible regret. "Arthur," Nia said, looking down at the broken patriarch on the floor, "I tell you to have your children escorted out, but I've already contacted the sheriff. Since Eleanor saw fit to assault me in front of 20 witnesses, she'll be spending the first night of her poverty in a precinct cell." As the police entered the ballroom, the 12 guests who had been minding their business watched in stony silence. Eleanor was led away in handcuffs, her screams echoing through the velvet-draped halls. Julian was stripped of his $20,000 cognac, and Arthur was left sitting on the marble floor of a house he no longer owned. Nia Vance walked out of the ballroom, her gold gown trailing behind her like a flame. She had liquidated their fortune in seconds, and as she stepped into the night, the Whitmore legacy was erased forever.